All right. Hi, how's it going? I'm Joe with the Spotted Joe, and this is David Kosciusko. He has a seven-figure business. He flips phones. He teaches people how to flip phones and averages about $25,000 in sales on eBay with his phone flipping business. David, how's it going today?
Good. How are you? Yeah, I figured we'd start off. This is just my sales for the last 31 days. We did about 25,000 on eBay. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Sure thing, sure thing. David has mentored me for my own phone flipping business, and I've actually helped my father do it. And I wanted to get him on to show you a little bit about his process and what he went through to get to where he is, and how the business is working for him. So I know at one point you told me a little bit about how you started uh, with your mother's basement and all that jazz, and I'm curious about if you could share that with the people listening.
Yeah. So you're asking like how I got started in this business, like how I fell into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started about 5.5 years ago. Now, things are pretty good. I'm running a seven-figure business, but before we didn't have it good. It was, I actually had gone bankrupt 6 years ago. I was bankrupt for the second time, as a matter of fact.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
Didn't know
two
you could do that.
bankruptcies before the age of 30. So that was painful. Um,
Yeah.
but my wife and I were living in my mother's basement at the time. We were living in one room, and we had lost our house in the market crash of 2008. So we didn't have much money. I had taken a job as a carpet cleaner. So I'm making about $300 a week at the time, and I was trying to support my
Yeah.
family on that. So it was tough. But I wanted to get back into business because I never really wanted to keep working for someone. I always wanted to start a business. And I was reading a lot of books at the time, like how to sell on eBay and things like that. I'd read a lot of books actually, just in business in general. I read about 350 books up in that point, and
Sure.
now I'm up to about 750. But by back then, I was
Wow.
focusing kind of like on like books on how to sell on eBay and stuff. And my wife loves yard sales, so
Hmm.
we used to go to yard sales just to kind of like for fun. It's because of like a treasure hunt to her, right? And that's like one of my
Yeah.
eBay screen names, Treasure Hunter, because that's what we like to do. That's how we started.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every weekend we would go out and we just go to yard sales, and I would try to find stuff to flip on eBay with the yard sales. Now,
Okay.
like I bought a couple things, and it was frustrating because like a lot of stuff that I thought I was going to make some money on were terrible. It was all like
Mm.
I bought this antique flag. I had like 48 stars instead of 50. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, this
yeah.
is a rare thing. And I paid like $20 for it. And then I sold it on eBay, and it sold for like 99 cents. And,
Oh,
I
geez.
was like, oh, man, that sucks. Because I lost the money, and I didn't have much money to lose at that time, right? I had
Yeah.
only like $300 cash in an envelope I had saved to start a business. I had been saving $1 in a jar for a while up into that point, and I had $300 saved in this envelope. I told my wife we're going to start a business with it. So I used a little bit
Mm.
of that cash to try to buy things and test. But it failed horribly. I bought some knickknacks and things like that. I didn't make any money. And I almost gave up for like a couple months. Like a couple months, we
Yeah.
just went to the yard sales, and we were just buying stuff like toys for my daughter, because that's, we couldn't buy brand new stuff. It was too expensive. So we would buy toys for her and clothes and stuff like that at the yard sales. That's how we, just how we lived. And then one day it was our wedding anniversary, and I didn't have a lot of money, obviously. So there was a really nice Coach purse at this yard sale. It was a real rich person. They had a big house, and they had a yard sale, and it was a really, really nice Coach purse, like one of the ones you pay like $300 in the store for. And I got it for
Yeah.
$30. So,
Nice.
it's sad I had to buy my wife an anniversary present at a yard sale, but that's
Yeah.
just how it was at the time, right? Couldn't do any better. So,
Yeah. I mean, how are you gonna eat if you're gonna spend more? So it was
yeah.
reasonable.
So I didn't end up selling her purse, obviously, but I meant to say I saw on eBay that purse was going on eBay for $230. And I was like, well, I don't know why. I was like, this is a pretty expensive purse for them to sell for $30. Like, I got to look this up. And I saw it was $230 it was going for on eBay. I'm like, oh, I could have made a good profit on this. And
Yeah.
of course I didn't sell it, but
Yeah. Yeah. You had to give it to your wife.
we need to go out next week, and we got to go get some purses, and forget about these flags and knickknacks. So the next week we went out, and I actually bought 4 Coach purses. I was able to get them for like $5 to $15.
Geez, do they know what they were?
Yeah, I just don't think a lot of people don't care anymore. It's a yard sale, so they're just trying to get rid of
Yeah.
it, right?
Just,
So
I want to get something for it. Yeah.
yeah, it's the old shoes, like they don't
Mhm.
care. So I ended up making $200 that next week from buying those purses and selling them on
Nice.
eBay. which was a big win for me because I was only making $300 a week at the time. So it was almost a full week's pay I made in one day. So I got really excited. We went out the next week and we did it again. And I made $400 the next week with it. We started getting really serious with this. Like what we would do is we'd go on Craigslist and then we would program all the addresses for all these yard sales on Craigslist. We'd go to the yard sales section and we'd program the GPS with like 25 addresses and we would just hit them all at like starting at 6:30 in the morning. And then we were making good money for about a month or two doing this, like $200 to $400 a weekend.
Sounds like a blast, really. I love
yeah,
going to yard sales.
It was crazy. Like within a month, I had over $1,000 cash. And like, you know, I never had that much money saved.
Just from that 300 you said, right?
Yeah. Okay. Which was really exciting. So then it gave me a little bit more confidence to start buying more. But the yard sale thing started getting tiring because it was a lot of work. Like, you know, we were getting up at 6:30 in the morning, yard sailing all day long. It was a lot. So I was like, how can I expand this and not work so hard? And what we did was we had posted some ads on Craigslist in the wanted section looking for free plants because my wife wanted to start like a garden and a patio, but I didn't have the money for the plants because, you know, like these nice plants in a garden, some of them would cost $20, $25. If you go to Lowe's, some are more expensive. We needed like hostas and different flowers and things like that. So anyways, I don't know why, I put an ad on Craigslist that says, looking for any free flowers I will pick up. And we got people that actually reached out to us and they gave us, like they would like take us to our garden and be like, oh yeah, we've got tons of these things. You know, they just kind of grow now and the garden's like overrun. So feel free to take whatever you want. And we built a whole beautiful garden and patio at my mother's house with just free plants. And the reason I'm telling you this is because what I did was I used that same strategy to get purses. I put an ad up on Craigslist that says, looking to buy designer purses.
Okay.
And then people started calling me like crazy. It was great because I no longer had to go out like to the yard sales, which was a lot of work. I would just be sitting at home during the week and they're like, oh, I've got some purses. And they were selling them to me at dirt cheap prices. Like I was getting purses I could sell for like $100 for like 10, 15 bucks.
Nice.
So, you know, like it was great.
Over and over again, you're just multiplying your money.
And the more I had, the more a little bit confident I got to buy bigger items. So I started buying like Louis Vuitton, Gucci. My biggest win was 2 Chanel purses. They were called the Double Flap Lambskin Bag by Chanel. And I bought 2 of them for a couple for $1,500. And I sold them the next day for $8,000.
Wow.
Which was really exciting, you know, and that gave me a nice cash pool to really expand.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I started getting frustrated though because the next week after that same instance where I made all that money, I lost $2,000. So that pissed me off, and I was like sick to my stomach. A lady sold me 2 counterfeit purses for $2,000, and I had gotten greedy. I rushed through it, didn't really inspect them the way I would. But I found out purses are really hard because there's so many different models, and you got to know every little thing. And the fakes are really good nowadays. You can even buy, you know, fakes that are a few $100s. So I wanted to find something that was easier and more consistent. So I thought, like, what about electronics and cell phones? Like, people are always upgrading their cell phones. They're always getting rid of their old ones, damaged. What if I buy cell phones? So I started posting ads on Craigslist looking to buy phones and electronics for cash. Well, like, that's when things took off. Like, that first month, I did $10,000 in phones and electronics. And then the next month, I did $20,000. Because then I started just focusing on phones and electronics. I still kept buying some purses if they call me, but, like, I went all in on the phones and electronics. It was nuts. Yeah. So anyways, that's how this whole thing started. And then my first 9 months on eBay, I did $249,290. Yeah.
That's just about $250,000.
Yeah, about $250,000. Yep. And that was just working off a couch in my mother's basement, that one little room that we had there. Just go, you know, answering calls on Craigslist and going out meeting people buying. Yeah.
And that all started with the $300 that you saved, just $1 a day for about a year, right?
Yeah, that $300 turned into $36,000 by the time the 8 months was over. I had $36,000 in my bank account. As a matter of fact, I didn't even have a bank account when I first started this. I don't know if I should be saying this. Yeah, I started with just that $300 cash, and then, I was able to open a bank account and stuff like that and pay off debts. I had some old bank accounts with like negative balances and stuff, so I had to save some money to pay that off, and that, you know, that helped me get all that done. But I ended up saving about $36,000 from that $300.
Yeah. What got you into starting to teach this? I mean, of course, it got you yourself and your wife a lot of stability and growth. When did you first start teaching this?
That's kind of a long story, but I started teaching this to other people probably about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I actually started off, I was teaching people a dating course, believe it or not. And
we got on a call about that once, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't very effective. I don't know what I was thinking. It's a totally embarrassing story. I'll save that for another interview in the future.
Sure.
But then someone reached out to me, and he asked if I would teach him how to make money on eBay. And I was like, yeah, sure. And that was, it was my first client. And then, now I've got like 850 students or something like that in my program now. They train in, 24,000 subscribers on YouTube at the time of doing this. And I have a Facebook with 18,000 people on it.
And of course, we met through Matt, because I remember we were in the group, and then we also met in person. And you're like, hey, come to San Francisco and meet me and one of my entrepreneur friends, Ellen.
Yep.
She's pretty cool. I met her another time also in Lithuania, which you went to as well. And I'm kind of curious, from like teaching that one person to like teaching a bunch of people, what kind of results do you see people getting in your group? I mean, I know the results I've gotten, $8,000 revenue in the first month, and I'm kind of curious what you see and how well people do.
Yeah, it really varies with the type of person. It depends on how fast they take action, how much they do, and everybody has their own wants and desires. Some people want to do this like full time, and they want, they don't have a job, so they have all the time to put in. Some guys have in the program working 60 hours a week. They're happy with just making $2,000 or $3,000 a month profit. Where I have other students, they actually still have full time jobs, but they want to go all in, and they're happy. They don't care. They'll use all their free time out for this. And they're doing like $10,000 to $20,000 a month. So it really varies. I don't want to make any guarantees or promises to anybody watching this. But I think really the most important thing we should really talk about is getting started with this. I think that's the most important thing, is to get started. And that's what gets people results, is taking action in anything, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing. Like if I never started by saving that dollar and putting it in a jar, I wouldn't have that 300. Which wouldn't let me get started buying junk like American flags on eBay, which I never would have started flipping phones, right? So for anybody watching, if you're trying to make money, it's like, just get started doing something. Just do one little thing today. And even if you're scared, just do like a very small part of it. And, don't expect to be good at anything when you start. You're going to probably suck at anything. I've made all kinds of mistakes, but the key is to get started, get the ball rolling.
Yeah, because I know when I got started, I actually borrowed the money from my dad. I think I just paid rent or something, and I got 2 broken phones, an iPhone 6S, which was cracked, and an iPhone 5 or 5. I think it was a 5, or it might have been a 5S. That was completely cracked, and it was like $100 for both of them. One of them I got for 25, the other one for 75. And I sold them for 200 cash, and like after shipping and fees and everything, it was about like 170, 180. And I'm kind of curious, like what like that first bit, of course that like multiplies and multiplies. What do you see like really helps people get that first one?
The first one?
Yeah.
Really just post the ads on Craigslist that obviously they probably don't, people watching this probably don't understand what we mean by that. So you probably, I have like some free training if you want to give it to them or something like that. They can watch to see the ads, but like you got to get the calls first, because that's the most important part, right? You get people call, because the money is made in this business really when you buy. Obviously, that, right? Like, when I know something's going to sell on eBay for $200, right? I'll just share my screen really quick, right? Show some of the things that I've sold here. So if I go to my orders, oops, that's just today. We look at, I know this phone right here is going to sell for $720, right? Yeah. But the money is made not when we sell it, it's when we buy it, because I know I'm going to get that kind of money. But let's see what we paid for it. Let me just look and check it out. We paid $490, right?
Nice.
So,
you have it in your notes. That's ingenious.
What's that?
You have it in your notes. I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, it helps me keep track of profits and things like that. It's good for accounting.
That's so cool.
But yeah, so eBay fees are 10%. So you pay a hefty fee on that, $70, but still like $150 profit on that phone when we're done. Now, a lot of people might not have that kind of cash to get started with to buy those phones, but you could buy like a phone like this, $139.95. Let me see what we paid for this. When we paid $70, so we doubled our money on that one at least, right? Nice. So, so there's $70 and you just doubled your money on this phone because it sold for $140. Even eBay fees, there's $13 right there. But like, you know, it made virtually double your money, basically. If that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
So the key is to get the people, you know, get these calls coming in for people that are going to be willing to sell you their stuff, and they're motivated, and then you make an offer. And, you know, you make an offer you're going to make profit on.
Yeah. And I know you've made a lot of videos on YouTube, the free channel. And actually, one of my family members, I helped him really get his finances off the ground just with your free channel. But I know that one of the things that I've really benefited from was the Facebook group, in the paid group, where you put a lot of effort into just helping people answer their questions. I'm kind of curious, like, what do you offer? Like, what kind of stuff do you put together? I mean, of course I know because I'm in your group, but readers might not, watchers might not know what kind of stuff you offer when you help people do this.
Well, you know, I really think it's best, Joe, to be honest, for them to watch like a free training of mine first, you know. Sure. So if you want to give your viewers like a link to a free training, because that way they can get a taste of it, you know, where I break it down and give them step by step and make sure it's like a good fit for them, you know. I don't really like to charge people for something like a program until they know what they're getting into, to make sure they're comfortable with it and things like that. But you know, we do have a program for those that have watched the free videos and are like, you know, I feel comfortable, I want to get started with this, where we do like a live weekly call each week. And then we have a private Facebook group where, you know, I answer questions, and my other members, you're obviously in that. And then, you know, in the training videos, which, you know, are very helpful and show you exactly how to do it. And then, you know, there's step-by-step, like how to beginner instruction, and then to advance, you know, for the students doing 10,000 a month or more and things of that nature.
I definitely didn't want to jump the gun, but I just wanted to see what kind of stuff you have. And so it's all out in the open.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I'm kind of
I don't like, I'm not a big like pitch guy. So I don't come in and buy my course, everyone. Like that's not, you know, I like to help people, and if they want to join, that's cool. If not, you know, that's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I noticed about you is that we met in Matt's group, and then I think you reached out to me a couple of times at one point, and then I reached out to you, and then I think you showed me your YouTube group, your YouTube channel, and I remember watching a couple of those, and it was kind of eye-opening for me, because I tried phone flipping a bit, and I would make I flipped a couple of phones, but it was never anything that I did with your course. It kind of supercharged it. And I'm kind of curious. I know for me, like, taking action and being really motivated was important for me that first month. I'm kind of curious for people who are listening, or are kind of curious about, they have their own goals, or they're thinking about their own goals. And they're curious about how to up their game, or how to reach their goals. What would you suggest to them?
On how to reach their goals?
Yeah, like qualities or habits, or just philosophies that you could share in a couple moments
believe it or not, actually, did you know I have like a goal setting course? I don't know if you even knew about that. Most people don't know.
I think you're talking about starting that.
Yeah. No, I actually have it. Like, it's goalsettingstrategy.com. It's a very inexpensive course, but I'm not here to promote that. I was asking you that to see, like, if you knew I had one of those as well. But yeah, so for setting goals, like, first, the biggest problem people have with setting goals is that they don't set the goals. So first of all, you got to have a goal in order to achieve a goal, right? And most people are very general. You know, like Zig Ziglar says, you don't want to be a wandering generality. You need to be a meaningful specific. So the first thing is you got to, like, be specific and set a deadline to it, right? So like, you know, most people are like, oh, I have a goal. Yeah, I want to make lots of money. That's not a goal. That's a dream. That's a wish, right? Wishes don't become realities. Goals with an action plan become reality. But if you say, I want to make an additional $1,000 a month in revenue, and in order to do that, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and you form an action plan to do it, right? A lot of people that don't have a lot of money, they're like trying to go from 0 to 1,000 in 60 seconds, you know? Yeah. You can't jump from being a millionaire if you don't have any money. You got to jump, you know. I learned from Snoop Doggy Dogg when I was first starting. I was watching a video, and I know this is kind of, you're like, what the hell, Snoop Doggy Dogg? But I was watching a TV show with Snoop Doggy Dogg once, and he says, if you want to learn how to make money, you know, obviously Snoop Dogg's been pretty successful. He's made millions of dollars. He said, if you want to make money, he says, don't try to be a millionaire. He says, first try to make $1. And then once you learn how to make $1, then try to make $10 in a day. And then once you learn how to make $10 in a day, see if you can make $100 in a day. And then once you make $100 in a day, see if you can make 1,000. It's kind of like levels, you know? And then I just did that for when I was broke and bankrupt. I just like, okay, how do I make my first buck? And that's how I started experimenting, flipping. I didn't try to be a millionaire. I just tried to make $10 or a dollar, right? And then once I got to $100 a day very consistently, then I'm like, I got to hit 1,000 a day. Then I hit 1,000 a day. I'm like, I want to be a millionaire. I got to hit 3,000 a day. It took me 2 years to go from 1,000 to 3,000 a day. It seems like kind of a small thing, but there was a lot I had to learn to go from making 1,000 a day to 3,000 a day. Just like there was a lot for me to go from making $100 a day to $1,000 a day. But I think the biggest thing with goals is write it down. They did a study that you have a 70% chance of hitting your goals if you write it down, and a 30% chance if you don't write it down, right? So most people are like, oh, it's in my head, Dave. It's in my head. I can usually tell that that person is not making at least 6 figures a year. I don't know any people making 6 figures a year that don't have like specific goals written down with an action plan, right? So they're always like, oh, it's in my head. It's in my head.
Yeah, that specificity, that clarity, I love. I love that. When I remember I had a business coach at one point. I don't know if you know Stephen Haggerty, but he's an NLP practitioner and personal business coach, and he helped me figure out how to gain that framework within my mind, and of course write it down as well. Be like, this is exactly what I'm looking to do. Exactly, like pinpoint the types of things that I want to do. And so I just remembered that it really rings true. It really rings true. Do you have any last words for any readers or listeners listening, watching, reading this?
You know, I'm not sure where your readers are at, that whether they're watching this, but if they're beginner entrepreneurs and you're just looking for a way to get started, the biggest thing is to start taking action. Like, don't overthink things. It's the number one reason why people don't do anything is they just get like paralysis by analysis. They overthink things. Is this going to work out? What if this happens? Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about like today, because today is happening right now in front of you, right? So worry about what can I do today to make tomorrow a little bit better. If you can just do something today that makes you 1% better tomorrow, you're going to be a successful person very quickly. Because most people, if you do just 1% better today, you're doing better than 99% of America if you're doing that for yourself. But most people go through every day with emotion. So if you're watching this and you really want to change your life, you want to do something, just think, okay, what can I do today? And don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Don't worry about whether it's going to work. Don't worry about if this is, it's going to be hard or how difficult it is. Just worry about doing one little thing. If you want to lose some weight, go in the gym and do one push-up. Because that one push-up, you're going to be like, well, I'm here anyways, might as well do a second one, right? Yep. But it's easy to swallow that one push-up, right? It was easy for me to swallow taking that dollar out of my pocket and sticking it in a jar. I didn't try to save $1,000 or $100 or $1 million. I just saved the freaking dollar. I was like, all right, it's a buck, right? If I can't save a buck, do I really deserve to be successful? So I stuck that dollar in the jar. And then it multiplied. And, that dollar has now become $1 million a year business for me. So that's I guess what I could leave anybody with is just
that consistency is key, man. So I'm gonna put a link. You have a free webinar that gives some value to people if they're curious about learning more about this. I'm gonna put a link in that below. I believe you're gonna share this video as well. You can put your link in that and to the free webinar below. If you're curious about it, you check that out.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, for anybody watching, like if you want to check out the free thing, it is helpful. It's an hour. It's not a big sales pitch. Don't worry. There's some good valuable info in there that you can get started. So, I do offer a program, but if, the key is that you watch something, you get some value out of it, whether you decide to join or not later on or anything like that. So,
of course. Well, thanks for sharing your time, David.
Yeah, no problem, Joe. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.